Welcome all together. My name is Martin and I'm going to present you today Pandarallel. It's more or less just a simple and efficient tool to parallelize pandas operations on all available CPUs. So here again it's about multiprocessing and multithreading, and for all of you guys who did not watch the previous videos so far, I would really recommend you to watch the last video because they explain all of the stuff that you need for this video, all the theoretical foundations. And I will just show you now how you can work with Pandarallel on a pandas data frame. Pandarallel is a really simple but efficient tool to achieve 100% core utilization by parallelizing your pandas calculations on all CPUs. So okay, what does this mean now? So now to see what your computer really does, just take a look, please at first at the upper graph, and you can see how pandas normally works. You see just one CPU is fully dedicated to the calculations, while the other three are not really used. On the other side, if you work with Pandarallel, it works with all the available CPUs, as you can see it here. Here, not just one went up, all of them went up, and the computer worked parallel on the task. What did Pandarallel do now? In the end, it just parallelizes the pandas jobs across multiple nodes. Therefore, at first, it instantiates a shared memory, and then it creates one subprocess for each CPU and asks the CPU to work on a subpart of the data frame. So it just divides or splits up one big job into different smaller jobs and gives them to the different CPUs so that every of them individually works on them. And after they are finished and have the result, it just combines all the results in one parent process again. For sure we think just now, okay, what does this help me? Why is this beneficial? Here you can see why it's beneficial. The upper part shows a project done without parallelization and the lower one the calculations with parallelization. And as you can see, if it works on 4 different CPUs, it's so much faster. So yeah, I think it's way better, especially if you have a lot of data to work with, if you just use parallelization and divide the tasks. So, should we therefore now conclude that we should always use Pandarallel? Of course not, because this is only sensible if the computational effort and the amount of data is high enough, and if it cannot be vectorized. So because it is very inefficient for small amounts of data, I'll show you this in a few seconds, and even if you get a lot of data but you could vectorize it, then vectorizing is more efficient as well. Here we got an example picture where they just looked up how long it does take to apply all the different methods. Here we got 1 times Pandarallel apply. I will explain you in a few seconds what this exactly is. And then you got the normal pandas apply. And here you got the amount of data more or less, so the amount of rows. So 10 to the power of 2, to the power of 3, and so on. And the time. And here you can see that with a small amount of data, the normal pandas apply is way faster, while with a huge amount of data, with a small amount of data, Pandarallel is slower. But if the data grows, Pandarallel gets faster. And here I think it's not really the best example to show how efficient Pandarallel is, because I think this was a very simple calculation. Because if the calculation gets more difficult, Pandarallel is even quicker, as you've seen in the previous example. And the third one, this one is called Swifter, and this is just a plugin that uses both methods interchangeable. So therefore here it's still a bit slower because it has to decide, but still close to the normal apply method, but then it comes closer to Pandarallel in the end. So I would really recommend it, and I also talked with Sasa and he said, yeah, that's the first thing that he does when he normally starts Pandarallel, starts pandas. He just starts Pandarallel as well and initiates it. So I think it's a very useful tool. Now is the question, how can we use it? First thing to say, on Windows, Pandarallel will work only if the Python session is executed from a Windows subsystem for Linux, also called WSL. I will show you afterwards how you can install it. Good news for all of you who have a MacBook or whatever, like a Linux software or Mac OS, nothing special has to be done for you. And furthermore, kind of a problem at the moment, Pandarallel works only for Python versions up to 3.7.3. At least for Windows users. I couldn't try it myself for the other ones. Here you can see a small example how it would work if you try to do it without the WSL system. And here you can still install it, Pandarallel, but as soon as you want to initialize it or work with it, it says that it could not find it, unfortunately. So, just to give a short introduction into the different commands. If you program with Pandarallel, after you set up Pandarallel, you only have to adjust the comments by including the parallel command, it's now called. And here you can already see the apply function we just used already. And this one without parallelization, so the normal pandas apply. And this one is the one with parallelization. So we just have to enter here parallel. And for all the following one, it's totally the same. Just take a look at these. I'll stop the screen. And you see you just have to enter parallel in between, and then it would work with Pandarallel. There's just a small coding example I did for you. So as always, if you have a new program, you have to install it. So you can just use pip install, and here used in the 1.4.8, as this one should still work for Windows, because sometimes some different versions do not work at the moment. They're still trying to figure out why or improve it. But yeah, you have to use, like as I already said, an older version of Python that it works. Then you of course get all the import the different packages. Then here now, as here I already downloaded the WSL and set everything up. It worked on 8 different workers, and then I just made here a small calculation, and here you see how you work with both methods. You just say then for the data frame that we defined here that it should be applied, and here then you would just have to enter parallel apply, and it would work out I think like in 12 seconds and not in 1 minute and 44 seconds. So for all of you guys who now have a MacBook or have a Linux system, you can already stop watching the video now. And all of the other guys who have Windows, stay please with me. I will just show you quite quick how to install the WSL, so the Windows subsystem for Linux. The first thing you have to do, you have to open PowerShell as administrator, as you can see here. Next step, it will ask you for security as you open as administrator. You just have to type in here WSL install. You can see it here. So very easy, just type in this command and the rest will be done automatically. Now I already have it on my laptop, so there is no problem. This command will enable the required additional components and download the latest Linux kernel, set WSL2 as a default, and install a Linux distribution for you. Next step, you have to restart your computer. I tried it in the beginning without restarting it, stupid, but I did it and it did of course not work. I was like, oh, what the hell. Just restart your computer, and afterwards we'll do some updates and we'll have the Windows subsystem for Linux. Third step, now you need Ubuntu, and therefore you just can go in the Windows Store, like I do here right now, search for Ubuntu, and then you can just use the typical Ubuntu one. I already have it on my laptop right now, so I could not download it here, but for you it's just in the download button, it will download it. And then you're nearly done. You just open Ubuntu after it's downloaded, and then it will ask you to enter a username and a password. And there you just enter any username you want, just something that you can remember. It's quite useful. And after you did this, you're done. Then your subsystem for Windows works. And then you can start, go in, for example, in your Jupyter notebooks and use Pandarallel. So I hope that helped you guys. I hope you will try it out. As I told you, it just works with specific versions of Python, like 3.7.3 works, but with newer ones it does not really work. So just try it out. If you get any questions, just contact me. And yeah, hope to see you soon in class again. Thank you a lot for your attention.